And another question I had for you was where you locate the feminist politics of your work, which is part of what you're talking about here. Are there ways that you can elaborate on that? Which is a question I've had when I've presented on your work. I've had people ask me that.
Yeah,
so I'm now asking you that.
And now you can have the answer.
Yes.
Okay. Well, I will answer. The answers always change according to mood and days. Obviously, what interests me at the moment is actually I've been revisiting a phrase by Kathy Acker, which I've always used and also in my teaching, but which I find really wonderful for a particular way of thinking about language in relation to gender and sexuality and female identity, when she says, I was unspeakable, so I ran into the language of others. And by that she justifies her citational practice, her parasitical practice and everything, but she also justifies the impossibility to inhabit language as a woman. And I have always found that an amazing, profound and violent, way of thinking about oneself as a writer. And so you have the social entity of yourself and everything that is disallowed by that as you enter language as a writer. And that for me sort of sums up the way I think about my feminist poetics as well, is how can I force language, if you like, to also go my way, if I am so read already, so taken over anyway, how can I make sure that what I do is a way of sort of breaking it up and sort of fitting other types of bodies in there, other types of understanding of language, understanding of history, understandings of my body in there. So that would be one way by which I sort of, think about it. So this whole idea of emptiness and violence, that she brings to her work, I think are really interesting. And there's also another thing which again, it's sort of Monique Wittig's The Lesbian Body. That book, when I interviewed her ages ago about that book, which I thought was extraordinary, for me again was this idea that you could enter language, especially in French, which is so gendered explicitly rather than in implied ways as in English, and really sort of start telling a story of integration and of consumption, of possession, of rejection, through those very abstract entities. Yeah? So it's nearly as if she took grammar and she made grammar, fuck with its own elements, And then she has this eye that's split and all those. So it's again very beautifully structurally and and these more epic poem structures. And so I asked her, yes, but why the title? Because that title really sort of, it's an extraordinary title, but it's such a difficult title to come out with a book like that in 1970.
Sure, it's amazing.
That's it, Minuit hated her after that. She was completely, this you're really taking, and she was, before that, she'd been quite a mascot. So very powerful choice, nearly sort of exilic, And she said, but there is no other title. And I just thought, wow. Like, she can go so far into the structure of the material, into the politics of what she does, that the only title is a title that's going to completely change her life, change her reputation, and close and make the work. And I just think that's, again, something that really interests me. Well, the politics are so reflected in the approach, that they take you there, and you have to go. That's the only way she could go.